something that's said. Take a look at what happened.
Hello lunatics, fellow libtards, those suffering from, like myself, Trump derangement syndrome, all of you people out there. Here's a special edition of Dr. Macclevoid's Nude Politics. What are we talking about today? The attempted assassination of Donald Trump on Saturday by some young, misguided individual. Used his father's AR-57 or whatever the fuck it's called, an assault rifle that Donald Trump doesn't think should be banned, doesn't think should be made unavailable to average American households. A weapon that was used to kill him. Almost. It was a millimetre or two in it, and he just about survived. Somebody who went to his rally unfortunately did not survive. That person was killed. Another victim of Trump's demagoguery. So this is a video really, it's a bit of instant history, a bit of insta reaction if you like. I mean, usually we would wait weeks, months, maybe even years before we dared to talk about what had happened on Saturday. But we don't live in that world, do we now? We're all expected to have sort of instant opinions and instant ideas on things. So here I am doing just that. I've given it no thought whatsoever, as will become apparent as this video goes on. I'm just going to tell you what I think now. Just going to unburden myself in a sort of crazed stream of consciousness, and in doing so I'll be like just about everybody else in the world, not just in the media, but also on the YouTubes, on social media, in the street, in the pub, the dog in the street who's got an opinion. I'll just be another one of them, and my opinion and my views will have as much substance and reflection baked on to it as anyone else's. So yes, you'll condemn everything I have to say, but you won't really have considered that your own knee-jerk reaction has got as much scholarship behind it as this video, i.e. none. So let's talk about it. Donald Trump survived, which I suppose is a good thing, isn't it? I mean, he wasn't assassinated. Whenever someone has not been assassinated, we say that's a good thing. Not, of course, except Hitler. When Hitler survived numerous assassination attempts, that wasn't a good thing. That just prolonged the war, didn't it? But Trump isn't Hitler. It would be a mistake to say that. It would be a mistake to conflate him with Hitler, even if he does have some autocratic, some fascistic tendencies. But he's not there yet, is he? He's not the full dictator. For one thing, he hasn't been empowered to do that just yet. Okay, he did disagree with the result of a democratic election, which is hugely worrying, and yes, he's cozied up to strong men around the world like Vladimir Putin, and yes, he has talked about America needing a dictator. Yes, all of that sort of thing. But he's not Hitler. No, he's not. He's just a would-be, a one-time American president, vying to be president for a second time, who has some dangerous views. Do you agree with that? No. Oh, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't, because you get your news from websites with crosshairs in the masthead, which would make you a bit of a hypocrite today, wouldn't it? But we'll come back to that. No, I mean, people are saying today the election is over in the US. Trump's won it. He's won it because he's now a martyr to his cause. Usually you have to die to be a martyr, but Trump's done the next best thing. He's managed to live, but be close enough to death, death adjacent, if you will, in order to keep fighting the good fight while having had somebody try to blow him away. And the attempt, even though it left him with a very superficial graze on his ear, nothing more, has had people already saying on social media that he's a hero, he's a strong man, he's superhuman. He dodged the bullet. It bounced off him. It was ridiculous. Joe Biden would have fucking fainted and died just with the bullet proximate to his skull, let alone going in. But Donald Trump batted it away like it was nothing. It was... What a guy. What fortitude he showed. What character. What strength. To just be a lucky bloke who turned his head at the right moment and thus avoided being murdered. Good for you, Donald. Well done. There was I thinking that you were a demagogue and a lunatic. But no. Actually, you're the embodiment of strength. Because you survived an assassination attempt. There are people online already saying that. They've already adopted that as their mantra. God pardoned Donald Trump. The courts won't do it, but God has. God's decided that Donald Trump should be president. God didn't give a fuck about the poor guy who was killed at his rally. But he does care enough about Donald Trump because God knows a visionary when he sees one. Do you believe that? What else do you believe? You're a fucking flat earther, I suppose. So, he's a martyr to his cause, and he's going to win. There are people online already now who were wavering, but having seen him luckily turn his head in the right direction, at the exact moment a bullet whizzed by his ear, that's completely changed their minds. Oh, fuck, they had some real reservations about him before, about his criminal record, about the fact that he's an habitual liar. One of the most vulgar, grotesque people who's ever run for public office, not just in the US, but in any country in the world. But did you see that? He turned his head to the right and survived. So that's that. All doubt gone. Is your doubt gone? Because he turned his head a bit to the right at the right moment? You had some reservations about Donald Trump, didn't you? You wondered if he was the right man to lead the free world and thus end the world's freedom. But now you're thinking, hey, I like that guy. He showed real fortitude, real character. Yes, he survived the bullet. You're right. What were the rest of us thinking? Except God didn't save Donald Trump, did he? Because God doesn't exist. He was lucky. Anybody can be lucky. You can be lucky. Just because you don't get hit by a car, or you don't get struck by fucking lightning, or the numerous accidents or pitfalls or problems that you're not subjected to each and every day, that doesn't make you one with the Almighty. God is not a fan of Holly Willoughby. It wasn't God that saved her from being kidnapped, raped and murdered. It was undercover police work. If you think that God saved Holly Willoughby, you've got to ask yourself a question. Why doesn't God save all the other poor women who were kidnapped and raped and murdered? Why didn't God save Sarah Everard, for example? Why does God hate Sarah Everard and love Holly Willoughby? And if we get back to US presidents for a moment, if you don't mind, what did God have against Abe Lincoln or JFK? Was he just looking the other way? Did he turn his head away at that moment? Was he asleep? Was he on holiday when those presidents were killed? I mean, what are we saying? That God's a fan of Home Alone 2? If you believe these things, you're a degenerate. Donald Trump was a crook on Saturday, and a demagogue, and an idiot. And he's still all of those things today. Except now, he's a crook, a demagogue, and an idiot with a grazed ear. Nothing's changed. And unlike Theresa May, I mean that, and it's true. Look, the other myth that will soon develop around this is if you don't say it's an awful, awful thing that somebody tried to kill Donald Trump, a man who poses the greatest threat to American democracy in our lifetime, then you're a bad person. You'll see it on social media all the time. People are sort of taking, happiness from the fact that someone tried to kill him. They're pieces of shit. You're a piece of shit if you... No, you're not. You're human. You're human if you don't wish for a bad person to no longer be around and have agency to commit bad acts. Of course political violence is bad, for God's sake. Nobody should be shot, nobody should be assassinated. In a sane country, the opportunity wouldn't exist to be blown away. Perhaps the problem in the US is that there are 3 guns for every person. Has that occurred to you? You make it a little bit too easy to shoot at each other, don't you? Maybe try having a look at that policy. Try understanding your own Second Amendment. That'd be a good fucking start, wouldn't it? But you can't blame people, given all the horrors that Donald Trump has already perpetrated on the world, for thinking, well, maybe the world would be a better place if he wasn't around. That's just reasonable, isn't it? The point is, all of the people who would think that wouldn't do anything about it themselves. I don't like Donald Trump, but I wouldn't wish him hurt. I wouldn't take a shot at him. No reasonable person I know would. Reasonable people don't do that. We don't yet know enough about the would-be assassin to know precisely what their motives were, and thanks to the sniper's decision to shoot them in the head, we may never know. But the point is, let's not play this stupid game where we say, look, unless you were, to the very core of your being, horrified that somebody wouldn't want Donald Trump to be president so badly that they consider killing him, well, then you are Satan himself. Let's not play that stupid game. It's natural for people to wish bad people to discontinue, But we'd all settle for him to die peacefully in his sleep. We don't want to see him the victim of a grotesque act of violence. Doesn't make us bad people, does it? Still. And then there's the hypocrisy, isn't there? There's quite a lot of hypocrisy around this issue. Why is Donald Trump popular with his base? And never has the word base been more readily applied and appropriate. Well, they like him because he's a strong man. They like him because he has autocratic tendencies. He's not a collegiate person who's going to draw on the institutions of state in order to get things done and work cross-partisan. He's going to cut through all the crap, drain the swamp, lead by diktat and by instinct alone. Just like all great leaders. But in that fetishizing of strength and autocracy and sweeping aside democratic institutions, there is, of course, an implicit call to violence, isn't there? Because what Donald Trump's really saying is, if he needs to, he'll use violence and intimidation and threat to get the job done. That's what makes him popular. That's what gets off his supporters. That's why they're furiously masturbating at home. Or, hey, we're going to have a dictator of our own. And you don't like Sleepy Joe, do you? You don't like him because he's all, I'm going to talk to people and work it out and work in a bipartisan way to bring about change. And going to negotiate with people. No! We need a strong man. And how do strong men exert their power? Usually through violence and mob rule and gangsterism. What? You like that, but you don't like it when someone on the other side picks up a fucking gun and takes a pop at him? Don't be such a hypocrite. You love that shit. You get off on it. You're a gun nut. You can't hate a man who exemplifies the very kind of fascistic tendencies that you yourself have got off on for so long. Donald Trump talks up America's gun culture. He's devalued human life with his policies and his rhetoric. He's shown cold indifference when his political opponents have been attacked and the victims of violence. But now he's going to profit from it, from an act of violence perpetrated against him. Why is it that when he's attacked, it's an act of unrivaled barbarity, but when he incites violence against other people, it's, hey, just what you need to get the job done. Make America great again. Do you not see the contradiction there? Do you not see the hypocrisy there? Who conditioned this guy to pick up a fucking rifle and take a shot at Trump? Hey, who knows? Maybe it was just Donald Trump himself. The culture that you create politically tends to have an effect on the people within that culture. I would argue. So, what's the verdict? What's history's instant verdict on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump? Perhaps it's, well, you could say you reap what you sow. I mean, that would be... Got to be careful saying that, because we appear to be apologising for violence if we say that. But Donald Trump tonight might be reflecting that maybe he's just up the old setting on the pressure cooker too high. And he did that willfully and deliberately. If America is going to progress as a nation, of course it has to renounce violence. Of course it has to reject all political violence. But don't incite it and promote it and fetishize it and then complain when some arsehole takes notice of you. And as for the rest of you SPACs who are considering voting for Trump in November because someone took a shot at him, well, think about this. If Donald Trump had been killed on Saturday, who'd have been left? Who would have walked in to fill the void? Can you think of another candidate who's as incendiary, who's as divisive, who's as contemptuous of democratic institutions and processes? Can you think of another candidate who's so nakedly self-interested? No. Still happy as your candidate? But he survived, didn't he? So you're going to vote for him now. History turns on such moments. Have a fucking word with yourself. Till next time, with great optimism for the future, this is Dr. Macclevoid saying, yeah!
It's up to you.